Round 14 began at the Unley Oval with North visiting on Saturday morning. The Roosters began the day sitting uncomfortably in 5th spot on the ladder. Win, lose or draw, they couldn't go down, but the big prize for both teams in this fixture was that a win would hoist them up to 3rd place. With the Redlegs on the bye, one of these teams would finish 3rd, so a good solid start was essential. And a good solid start usually involves scoring goals, which was exactly what the Roosters didn't do. Not only didn't they score any goals in the first quarter, but they didn't even score a point. They went to the first break with a very rounded score, 0. The Double Blues, on the other hand, took the proverbial bull by the horns and piled on the goals with 5 different goal kickers in the first 22 minutes. With 3rd place on offer, no one was standing in Coach Chris Brown's way. The Blues used 10 different goal kickers throughout the day. Reece Miles led the way with 3. Hailing from the River Murray Football League, Reece captains the Meningie Football Club, where he scored, wait for it, 104 goals for the under-15s in 2010. In just one game this time last year against Tailem Bend, Reece scored a whopping 17 goals. Just 3 today against North. Come on, Reece, lift your game. For the Roosters, Andrew Clark did his best to lift his team's scoring rate, but it was a bit of a solo effort. Andrew's 4 goals making up over 70% of North's total on the day. So in the end, 3rd spot went to Sturt, big winners by 66 points over North. The Panthers' goal for the rest of the season is to stop losing by huge margins, but for the 6th time this season, they've gone down by 100 points or more. And just like the Roosters over at Unley, they went scoreless for an entire quarter, scoring nothing at all in the 3rd quarter. Port Adelaide's situation is entirely different. Locked in a battle for top spot with Glenelg, the Magpies can't afford to lose it all. They're ready to swoop if the Tigers should stumble, and with a vastly superior percentage, Port Adelaide only needs them to stumble once. This match didn't hurt Port's percentage at all. Scoring 5 goals in his first game for Port was Tom Durham. Tom is the quintessential sportsman. He's an explosive medium-fast bowler in the summer and quite an extraordinary footballer through the winter. From the South Broken Hill Football Club, Tom came down to Adelaide this year and played up forward for Paraka, where he scored a handy 8 goals in one match against the Seaton Ramblers. It wasn't long before the Magpies snapped him up. Coach Matthew Webber very quickly recognised the 17-year-old's ability to read the ball quickly, especially in bad conditions. This mark and goal from 50, a great example of the power inside Tom's boot. On debut for Port Adelaide, from the Silver City of Broken Hill, Thomas Durham. Get used to the name, we'll see lots more of Tom. Scott Burnett also added to his goals tally at the weekend. This was his 2nd 4-goal haul for the season, the other one being last month against Central District. The 18-year-old from the Salisbury West Football Club had 18 kicks and 9 marks in this match, and he scored some best-on-ground votes too. But scoring even more best-on-ground votes was one of the overage players, Michael Franklin. The 19-year-old from the Boston Football Club in Port Lincoln played a good solid game on Saturday with 10 kicks and 9 handballs. For the Panthers, Josh Coppin played well in his 11th appearance this season. This was his 2nd best-on-ground showing, but his 16 disposals not nearly enough to save the Panthers from yet another demolition. The average points conceded per game is still dangerously high. They let through another 138 today. It was Port by 103 points at Noarlunga Oval. At the Elizabeth Oval, the Dogs hosted the Eagles in the battle between 6th and 7th. Neither team could gain position from a win in this match, but the Bulldogs were looking to move further away from the wooden spoon. Not that the Panthers are likely to give that position up anytime soon. In his 10th match for the Eagles, Jack Muirhead was voted best on ground for his 24 kicks and 9 handballs. He also took 7 marks for his team, this one resulting in a goal deep into the final term. And speaking of goals, Matthew Jackwea scored plenty. Matthew's been pretty well everywhere this season. He's played for the Eagles reserves, he's had a stint with the state squad, and he's also played 6 games for the Eagles under-18s. And this is where he scored his goals. At an average of 3.5 goals a game, Matthew has scored 21 goals for the under-18s. This was the 3rd match in a row in which he scored 5 goals, and only one behind this week. Some sharp shooting from Matthew. The home fans were kept well entertained too. The Eagles may have won this fixture, but it wasn't all one-way traffic. Steve Rusker from the Angaston Football Club in Central's Country Zone scored a couple of goals on Saturday. Once again, his work rate was a feature. He's already won a Macca's Cup MVP nomination. That was back in round 7 when the Dogs managed to turn the tables on the Eagles, beating them by 5 goals. Exactly the same margin once again here in round 14, but this time the result went the other way. These two teams meet again in round 19, but until then, it's 1 win each. The Eagles by 30 points in round 14. Glenelg began this match superbly. The Tigers aren't ladder leaders for nothing. Going into a strong breeze in the first quarter, they won most of the clearances and outscored the Bloods 7 goals, 3 to 2 goals. But West didn't play like a team second to bottom of the ladder. Instead, they worked their way back into the contest in the second quarter and managed to get numbers around the ball, causing congestion if nothing else. Westies had some standouts, Michael Manuzzo for one. Michael had 2 best on grounds over the past 5 weeks. The other weeks were second and third bests too. His 36 disposals and 7 rebounds from West's 50-metre zone stopped this game from becoming an annihilation. Under-16 player Hassan Ahmat Watkins played at half forward, half back, and he also had a run on the ball, nailing 14 of his 15 kicks. That's efficiency. And in just his second game back from injury, Tom Schott from the Roxby Downs zone had a good game, scoring 2 goals on Sunday. Tom's had a good season since being noticed by talent manager Simon Hughes at a Sunraysia football carnival in Mildura in 2009. He certainly shows some promise, a player to keep an eye on in the coming months. But while West fought hard, the Tigers were just too strong. It was all about possession for Glenelg, with Johnny Wilson and Jordan Newton both scoring over 30 disposals. Jordan Newton converted 5 of his 22 kicks into goals for his team, while best on ground for the Bays and picking up the MVP award for the round was 18-year-old Jackson McMahon, playing across half-back with 20 kicks and 9 handballs. The ladder leaders should have scored more goals in the third term. Westies kept them scoreless until the 22nd minute, but the result was never really in question. Glenelg by 67 points to wrap up round 14.